Hi, welcome back to Boyce's Barrelback. You've probably forgotten who I am, and I've forgotten what episode this is. It's been so long ago. But I'm here, I'm back. I've got my boat. It's in the garage. It's been sat in the corner there patiently while I rebuilt that Norton bike. And but there, that's all back together stuff. The engine is now waiting. I'm going to start stripping a few of these components off so I can get at the engine and clean like those engine mounts, the gearbox. I'll change the colour of this to the colour I've chosen for the boat, which will be revealed later, I guess. So, excuse me, I've got dust in my eye from a bit of planing. So, I've got help coming tomorrow from Poland, of all places, Pavl. I hope he doesn't mind being filmed, I'm sure he won't, but we're going to crack on. Refit the boat with all of the stringers, which should all fit except stuff around the bow. Why don't I show you where this is my lovely garage, and yeah, the boat we've got now propped up on the frame, and I've been bolting it together. So I've put like the glue into these bits. These were the bits that were on the plans by Glenelg, and they have been bolted through, as you can see, to the engine stringer. So this is one here, and there are two big bolts into the engine stringer, and then two bolts through there into the frame. So the frame is solid, and if you remember, I put these extra wedges in there because I thought it could just do... I know that there was stuff from Glenelg that said that these little brackets were enough to hold the frames, but you've basically got 400 and 450 kilos of engine bolting to these stringers and pushing that way, but obviously the reactionary force is pushing these stringers that way, so these all have to be really strongly mounted to that stringer. And I mean, there's one on each frame, so I'm sure this is belt and braces, but I just feel happier because the engine, I think it was supposed to be about 250 horse max, and this is 375, we think, because Matt in America changed it to GT40 heads and generally souped it up a bit, so it's all been zero out almost. Possibly not the bearings. I don't think we did the bearings of the crankshaft. But it should run, and it should be a fearsome engine when we get there. Pavl is bringing a stern tube cutter tube, so I've been researching. I thought we need to get the position of the engine to determine where the stern tube goes, but also not entirely true because the rudder has to fit here. And the Matt tells me that the propeller, I think it goes this way. So the down-going blade is this side, so there's more thrust on this side. So we push the rudder center to one side enough to get the prop shaft out without having to remove the rudder. So, you know, for maintenance and all sorts of things, that would be, I think, quite advantageous. And it also puts the rudder in slightly offset in the line of thrust of the propeller, so that will keep it more neutral. So once we've got the position of the rudder, which mustn't come beyond the back of the boat, then we've got the hole for that. Then we can position the strut so that the propeller obviously doesn't hit the rudder. I have no idea what the gap is or should be, but being as that this engine's going to be quite tight up to this bulkhead here, we need to keep that propeller as far aft as possible. So once with that, we've got the position of the strut, and once the strut is there, then that's the angle that we will drill the propeller shaft through there, and then we will fit the engine. I would imagine I've got to cut the propeller shaft because there's a flange that bolts onto the end of it, which is very handy, and then we'll cut that to length to fit the engine, and just hope and pray that that is actually what happens. If it doesn't fit there and it is beyond that bulkhead, Christ knows what I'm going to do, because that's the kind of the dimensions are fixed by the boat. But being as that this is the 21-foot Barrelback, it's 1 foot longer than the standard. Therefore, this should have a little bit more room. So, fingers crossed that that happens. So, what are we doing? Well, actually, I've just been making a right mess of myself by playing down the keel plate. so that we've got now a centre line, and these are all roughly in keeping with these frames here, so that we can start the process of skinning once the stringers are on. So that's actually not far away now. I've got, well, the main stringers, the bottom ones are down here, and I can fit them. What I've got to do is to cut the drain holes along there. So I'm inclined to put the stringers in and then cut, rather than cut, because if I cut there, we lose a whole side, don't we? Whereas if I put the stringers as in glue, I can cut. In fact, which side has it got to go? It's got to go from the high side down to there, isn't it? So it's there, there and there, and there, so that the water will drain down the bottom of the boat, down aft, if it's sort of slightly bow up. So that's the program for today. I say today, in the next few days. What I didn't or wasn't very happy with was a screw left out there. I'll have to cut that off. Was the fit to the bow section. That has to be smooth, because the plywood has to lie up against this and hopefully touch without a gap there. But it's got to be a bit smoother, and I don't think I did that very well. So I didn't cut them to length on the back, so I've got some room to move them all forward. And I've been taking off a little bit of wood there. I can see here that I've got to do some more there to slope that down to match that side, because that's going to get pretty steep. So yeah, it's a bit of jiggery pokery going to have to go on there, but it's all looking pretty solid now. It's looking pretty good, and I'll crack on, I think, and then I'll video bits and pieces, and then I'll get episode X up online when, well, probably at the halfway through. I think we'll be able to do that when we've got the stringers on and we start planking. That would be a really good one to do. So yeah. Well, so far a good morning's work. A little bit of sorting out my stringers as to how I'd numbered them, but yeah, I've finally figured out P1 was the port side, because the boat's obviously upside down, and I'm missing P4, so I'm going to have to make a new one. I don't know what the hell's happened to that, but I've done the planing down of that, so they're all looking good. So the scarfs I've put here where there's no bend in the wood, so that they won't crack. So all the bendy bits are coming on up here. And I'm pretty sure P3 here just finished. I don't think it went round there because it's just too tight. But it's the other side that I'm not struggling with, but I'm trying to figure out. So they're all looking good all the way down here, but when we come to the front, it was the angle of the bow. And I've taken this down to my original mark, my line here. But look, what I'm doing is I'm twisting this wood. I don't know if I can put it there. Can you see that angle there is good up to the end of the wood, but then you've got this bow section, which I think I've got to bring that right back here. Can I hold this? Yes, I can. I think I've got to plane this right back to here to get that, so that when that piece of wood, here, I've got a piece of plywood here. You see the problem there? It's just not going to lie flat with that bow. That has got to come and be shaped right back. So what I'm inclined to do is to glue these on this side. S3 I've got just ends there, and then I've got the chine piece that comes into here. And then when there is a set, I can then plane this back and plane off the front of these bits of wood as necessary, so that when we lay the plywood on it, it lays smoothly over the bow section. I've just, look, you can see how much I brought this back down to the line, but I think that's got to come right back a bit more so that we can get that piece of plywood and flush up to the bow. And that's going to be a bit of a bend to get that round there. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, so let's glue them on and see how it goes. If I start fairing this piece of wood in, because you see there, look, it's fine. It touches all the way. That's no problem. But when we get to this bit here, see there, we're okay. But about here, that's not too bad actually. So that's good up to there. It's just from there I've got to bring that wood all the way back there. So I think it might be a good idea to glue these on and then start fairing that piece of wood back there, and then I can see exactly how that's going to fit with that bow section. I wonder if that's what everybody else does. But anyway, there it is, and it's beginning to look a bit like a boat again. Well, here we are, day 2, and very pleased with progress. Apologies first, I forgot all about the microphone and the sound system, so the first bit may well be a little bit muffly. I had forgotten completely about that, and my old system had packed up. It was so long since it had been used. So fortunately I'd bought a backup system because I'd had trouble before. Synco, it's this thing here, and it seems to be registering my speech okay, so hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. So progress here. This is what I've done. I've managed to get all of the stringers back on again, and it's taken a lot longer than I thought to get them in, but this time, as you can see, they're all glued and I've screwed them in. The chine is in, that's looking really good. This one I've actually these are the cuts that I made to make it level, and then I have planed that down. So that, I mean, really we're just looking now at cleaning this up with a sander, and that will be good to go. This is the problem area because of the amount of bend. You can see I'm twisting this one here to get that to fit on the nose piece, and I can probably put the piece, I've got to cut off a piece of plywood here just to sort of show where it goes. So that, does that work? Yeah, like so. Obviously I haven't planed the chine out yet, so it's not kind of working, but you know, everywhere you go along the boat you can put that on and see if it's going to fit tightly down there. That just needs to be obviously cleaned up a little bit, and those last ridges I can get rid of, and I wonder if I can show it here, because this has been done. Yeah, that's done, and that's tight all the way down now to from the keel, so that will bend nicely, and I'm hoping this will be the same. I've had to try to cut these in at the same angle so that the chine remains and the curve remains the same. So this has got to be, clearly that has got to be angled down a little bit more to get that, and obviously this chine will be planed out. I can probably, this is looking a little bit better, but I can't get it in because of all of these clamps in the way, but I think this has just got to be angled down a little bit more, yeah, all the way along there really, till we get to about here, and then it's fine. So it's just that piece there, and I think this one then takes on the shape of the bow. So that is, if anything, that's looking as though that's shaped too much. That'll have to come in a bit. So reduce there and increase the bit there. But that's the look of it so far, and I'm quite pleased with that. That's all gone back together quite nicely. It's noticeable how rigid it is now, the boat, that the whole thing is just taken on a feel of unity, and these have added a great deal of strength to the frame, and we've still got these to come here all the way down, which will be tomorrow's exercise. So that's where we're going. I've got to go and pick up Pavl at the airport, and then tomorrow we'll start. There's the shears there. So they're all kind of labelled. They're pre-bent, so they should just fit straight back on again. These have straightened themselves out a bit, and they've, if you remember, I put these pieces of wood on here to pre-bend that wood, because it was from the last station, station 7, to the point of the bow, it was taking the straight route, and these would introduce a curve, which was I thought looked far better. So I think we're going to have to just maybe steam them, glue them up again, and then we can fit them. And as you can see, the scarves have all come undone because they're not the strongest point. And I've got ants by the million again by the looks of it. So they're all numbered up and they're ready to go, and I expect there's just a little bit of work to get them bent into place. And then we're just fairing, just cleaning up the wood, the glue ready so that we can put the plywood onto the, start doing it on the frame. 4 layers on the bottom, 3 on the side, and I've pre-made the transom, these bits here, plus these extra fillets to give this the curve. So once these are all on, then I can fit them, and then we can plank the back of it as well. So all good. I had to put a couple of little fillets in just there so that this fitted the same as this without having to take any wood off of the actual transom. I'll take it off the chine. So I think that's looking all right. This one, yeah, it's just a touch, isn't it, to come off there, but that's supposed to come in at 12 degrees. So that's near enough for government work. I think we're on. Yes, we're on. Hopefully the sound is recording this time. Here's my man Pavl, all the way from Poland. Say hello, Pavl, who's come here to help me advance this boat on quite a bit. So yeah, so here we are. So we've already started fairing the top or the bottom stringers in, and Pavl is marking out and doing the chine, because that has been that's square. So we've marked the line. Well, we've done the cut here, and then marked that line. So that's what's got to come off, and it's quite a bit of wood to shift here. And then I'm sanding the stringers to smooth it all in and fair the bottom, and then we're going to start putting the stringers on the side. That's going to be a fair old task for us. And somehow we've got to figure out how to fair this and get that all nice and smooth so that the bow section will sit in there nicely. So we'll crack on. Here we go, day 3, 8 o'clock in the morning. We were up till 9 last night. We wanted to finish all the stringers, which we've done. Magnificent effort, I think. So we managed to get all of these formers on. I don't know if you followed my post before, but I was worried about the stringer between there and there. If you didn't have a former, it just took a straight line. And so I had to make all of these individual pieces up, which was really hard because you've got a curve this way and a curve that way, and the curve that way changes from there to there. So it took a bit of, but look at the effect it's had. So from the shear there, you see there's quite a big bow there, and it gets less and less till it's fairly flat here at the chine, and that's worked out on both sides. And we've faired these in, so hopefully we will do some planking later, and all will fit nicely. And because we've got the side strakes on now, we can get at last the transom pieces on, which is really good, because they took days to form them. But yeah, we're doing good stuff here, and that'll be on, and then we can start fairing in the sides. And when we're done, this plywood has been sat here for about a year. It's about time it was used. I think we're recording. So we've got to a momentous moment in the construction of Boycie's Barrelback with Pavl here. We've been sanding, planing, grinding this morning to get these curves for this side, but they're all kind of smooth now. Big discussions down here as to where the board is going to meet here. Because I've put the extra layer on the outside, we're coming outside of the boat there. So we want to keep that because this is the structural strength. If you're going to hit something on the boat in the front, it's going to be there. So that's where you need the strength. So we've decided to leave it intact, and we're going to put 2 layers of the plywood. It'll come down here. The third one will cover this, and we're going to put some more wood on the outside here so that in the morning we can fare that into that last layer, and that's the best we can do. We've been doing that both sides. The back of the boat is the Barrelback. It's really good too. It's been sitting on there for ages. Look at that. It's complete. We were missing one piece of wood. Had to remake that, but all the others were intact, and it's all glued and screwed within an inch of its life. So we've got to the interesting bit of beginning to skin the boat with 3mm plain plywood, and I've got mahogany here, but that's obviously for the final coat. Only on the side. On the bottoms it's going to be painted. So we're going to lay this first one, because this is largely flat, in one board, and then we started a 45 cut, and then we're going to do them in 20cm wide panels, and that will get harder as we get up towards here, and we'll see how we go. So Pavl's just cutting the last board. I unfortunately had a little moment there and missed that bit, but we won't talk about that too much. We've drawn the frames and the stringers. So the frames, we've got 25mm ring shank silicon brass nails, and for the stringers we're going to use the screws, the 23mm screws, and we're going to screw this one to the bottom of the boat, and then the rest of them we're just going to glue. Might think about screwing another one later on just for the hell of it, but I think as long as you've got one firmly attached to the boat, then that's going to work. So we're just going to cut this. It's going to make a lot of noise, and then we will glue it, and I'll do another video recording in a moment when we're a little bit further on. I think we're recording. Yes, we are. So a live update from the Portugal garage with Pavl beavering away. This is where we've got to so far. First 3mm sheet is gone on there. So we've used a whole sheet up to here, and then we started cutting them 20cm at 45 degrees on both sides. And so we're about 2/3 of the way. So that's what we're going to do today, and then tomorrow we can just finish the sides here, sand them off as necessary, and then we can put a planking on the side, which would be good. So we've already cut the sheets. I've arranged a big long table here, so that we can just run them along the table saw and cut them 20cm wide. So that gives us, we cut 2 sheets up, and that gives us enough boards to get on with. And we're fortunate at the moment, we're getting no waste. One board there is actually doing both sides. So once we mark them out with pencil, cut them with the circular saw, or Pavl cut some of the circular saw, then normally he is rolling the glue on the underside. The reason I'm doing that is because that's the bottom of the boat, and I want that obviously to be encapsulated with epoxy. If we leave them bare wood, then it means I've got to get down there with a paintbrush or something in between, and that seems more difficult. So I opted to paint the underside, which actually works, because obviously where it's in contact with any of the stringers or the chine, it will stick. So we have opted to screw and glue and nail the bottom sheets on to make sure it's attached to the boat. We've got to do something here because these are all concave, these frames here. So we've used nails into the frames, and we're actually using screws now onto the anything where there's solid wood. But the nails are working really well, obviously down the center and the keel, and we're using 23mm screws along these stringers, which we pre-marked on there, as you can see. The frames we've marked, and there's your nails. We've had a couple of few, you know, the FRISM heads and into the silicon nuts are all very well, but if you don't apply the pressure and you twist the head, it's so easy. And then you try and remove it. Sometimes you can get them out, but mostly they don't come out. So you have to get a pair of roll grips onto the head. I don't know if that's going to work with one hand. Possibly not. Hang on a second. Hang on a cotton picking second. There, let's try that. There, and then you can turn it out with that. But we can do that off camera. So there you go, and then we can replace that with another screw. So there. Now we've just got to prime the wood on this side, ready for the next piece of wood. There you go. There's Pavl. Don't waste the nuts. You haven't got enough.
That was 35.
But, you know, there's two that have rubbished, so we'll throw them away. So let me walk around and capture what we're doing live, as it were. So we're getting a bit more of a concave now into the wood, which is, I think, what we've got to do this in 20mm. I think here we could have done it in another sheet, couldn't we? But that seems to be the way to do it, and I'm sure there's a good reason. I can certainly see once we get up here with this bend that we've got to do here that we might even come down to 10mm. See how hard it is to flex the 20mm sheets. But there you go. That's what's happening. And last
20 centimeters.
20 centimeters, yeah.
Not a mil.
Sorry, 20 centimeters. So that's Boyce's Barrelback getting a bottom at last. So we're getting some real progress. Many thanks, Pavl. I think we're live. Here we are. It's Monday morning. Pavl was up at 8 o'clock scoffing. Yesterday we did a marathon of 8 in the morning, oh god, till 10 o'clock at night. I think we stopped for lunch, and we even had dinner in our work stuff, and then came down to finish off the front of the boat. But here we are. We managed to skin the bottom of the boat yesterday. Pavl's just cleaning it up now. This bit was easy. Around the Barrelback, which is looking really good, because we used a whole sheet here as per what I've seen on the Glenelg site. And then we screwed it to each of the stringers, nailed it to the frames, so it's pretty solid. And then we went to the 20 centimeter wide at 45 degrees, which was okay, wasn't it, for the first bit? And then as we started getting further into the curvature, things started getting more difficult. So then we went down to 10 centimeters because it was easier to bend and hold the wood. It was weird that if you attached it at the top and then you started putting these screws, this bit here was flared up by the fact that you were pushing this in. It like twisted the wood in the wrong way. We ended up getting harder and harder, and eventually we went to the 5 centimeter strips. Sorry, the glue has kind of made a right old mess, isn't it? But it went okay, except for the centre line. We don't quite know what to do with that. But it's all bent round there quite nicely. And we've got the shape of the boat. Pavl's just cleaning the chine line off because we're now going to do the sides. So I guess what will we do? Just flatten that off a bit? Yep. With the next one we can fill up some more epoxy in the hole there. But eventually that will have a piece of cut water on the front which comes back to here, so that won't be seen. And we'll do the best we can to tidy it up. So there we go. Another mega day. I think this should be easier, shouldn't it, today? Because I think there's less twist on this. We can start putting, I don't think there's any point in doing 20 centimeter wide strips. I think we can just do one whole strip, maybe between each frame, maybe two. This bit here, we decided where we come round the barrel back bit here, we can put a strap round here, a ratchet strap, and ratchet the thing in if we attach it here. And anyway, we'll see how that goes. There you go. So a quick update. Just check this. Sound is working. We're busy doing the planking of the sides. So we started off this morning. Used one of my old sheets used for marking off the frames actually originally. One big sheet on there, and that's all glued and screwed on. That's coming really well. First of the side pieces is quite a bit of bend there around the barrel back, and the plywood has just taken that. That's fine. And I've just used a couple of these heavy duty straps just to pull it round there and just to hold it into place. That's really looking good. And the next one, we got a full sheet in. I can't see any point in doing these 20 centimetre strips. It takes so much time and so many screws. And we're using a lot of screws, and strange enough, we don't have enough. And we've got to try and order or find some silicon bronze in Lisbon. I don't know where. So we've reverted to using the standard staples in there, which have actually done really well. So we're coming up to the interesting bit, and I think we're going to put a full panel up to this frame because the twisting and the bending is very minor here. It's just the front bit, which again is not too bad, but we've had a lot of deliberations as what to do with the shear, because we come straight down to the shear here, and we should have put another 3 centimetres on there, and we forgot. So because there's another rail got to go on the outside, and then the covering board on the top of that. But the next two we will do to meet that line. Then as we come here, we start getting a little bit vague, because now the shear isn't thick enough, and it wouldn't matter if it was thick enough. It's gone in one more, so we're going to start fairing that down, because here it no longer will touch the shear beyond about halfway, and we need to extend that 3 centimetres below. So that's gonna. We did think of putting some 3mm plywood on here, be about 6mm later, but and then fairing that down so it would have wood to touch. But when I turn it over and put the next strip on the top there to meet that, that will butt up against the side wood here, the plywood, and that will touch. And as you can see, it's fared almost down here because now of the angle of the wood. So I've been planing that down to take that. It's didn't like that originally, but it seems to be okay. It seems to like it. And we've got good contact here with all of the stringers. And then what we'll probably do is end up putting 10-20 centimetre wide panels in here to make sure that we get round those curves nicely. Pavl's just putting in a test piece here so that we can mark the shear so that we know where to plane off to. And so, yeah, it's all gone okay. This is fared out very nicely. So I don't know why, but the next, if I get, that one was a bitch to get those in there, but the next one lays almost flat. It's like, so the time we do this one, there's no trouble at all there, which is completely weird. I don't understand why that would happen. And so I've no doubt that when we come to do the second layer on the bottom tomorrow, that it will be considerably easier. So yeah, it could be another late night tonight while we finish this off, as this takes quite a bit of cutting and sorting before we can actually get in glue. And I'm having to epoxy the entire inside of the wood so that it is all encapsulated. The same with the stringers, and obviously we glue this so it's got a good mating surface on both sides before we screw or whatever that we do. So yeah, The weather here is superb. We've got fantastic sunshine outside. Look at that, not a cloud in the sky. So we're stuck inside. Hey ho, we'll crack on. Another day skinning the bottom of a barrelback. So we've finished up the front, we've got them, and we're now putting the second layer on the bottom. And we've done screws into the first one, so that's definitely anchored to the boat. And we've used epoxy on on the bottom of the boat and epoxy on the bottom of the plank. And here it's quite easy because there's very little concave. I mean, it's flat at the bottom of the boat, and up there it's shallow, so the staples are holding. Using the tape, because if you don't, you've got to pull each individual staple out, and that takes time, whereas with the tape you can just pull the end, I say just, and you can rip them out much more easily, put it that way. And as you can see, there's thousands of staples being used. And then the next one we're going to morning, day 4 is it, I think. Yeah. So we had a good day yesterday. We finished the side of the boat, and we have reskinned the bottom. This is 2 skins on here now, and there we had, well, we used a whole sheet there. We made a triangular piece here so that we could now, because the first layer went this way and now they've gone that way, and it's starting to feel a bit solid. And we used the staples, which you can see here. They we used them on the tape, but even so, it's quite powerful. It's gone through, made a mark in the wood. So we're going to have to beware of that when we do the final layer that's visible, because we don't particularly want that. And then we ran out of tape, but we used this thick stuff, which might be better, I'm not quite sure. But and then we had one piece here which we steamed and forced into that shape, so that will hopefully clean up quite nicely. And this is what we're left with. As you rip the tape out, you're having to pull a lot of the staples out manually, as Pavl is doing. Is the thick tape any better, or do you think it's not? Thin tape better?
We've got like a two rows of the staples on that.
Yeah.
It's a really
But the thin tape was pulling the staples out mostly, and also they were not left in the tape. They just all pinged out. Yeah. It's not taking too long though, is it? The 2 of us, we've done the boat, the length of the boat in, my watch would start, 40 minutes into past 8 o'clock? Yeah.
maybe less than that.
Probably. So we've got to clean this up, sand where the staples haven't come out. You're left a little tiny stud, so we need to sand that. So Pawel shows us now, ripping this tape out, how it goes. Because there's 2 rows. 2 rows of staples, because we were down to 5 centimetre wide strips of that might be, that's 10, wasn't it? So with 2 of them, and you see we're just left with loads of staples which have all got to come out manually. So hey ho, that's the job. So Pavl's just trimmed off as we did before, and now it fits.
It matches the bottom as well.
It matches the yeah, and the 45-degree cut there hardly shows. By the time we get some epoxy over the top of that, with the glass fibre, we should be good. Okay, excellent. Whew. So it's 7 o'clock at night. We've been at this since 8 o'clock this morning, well, because I've had help, and 2 people is a real good idea, I think, to put a boat together, just helping you manoeuvre, cut pieces of wood, you name it. Pavl's going back on Monday, so we're on a tight schedule, so we're just doing everything. Hence why we've managed to plank this entire boat in less than a week. And that's the sort of time it takes to figure out how to do it. So I think in these videos I've always tried to sort of push how to do things or how I did them. I'm not saying that that's the best way of doing it, but it's how we have managed to sort out the various kinks and the problems with the boats. And it is problems every stage of the way. So so we've done this one side, and here's one way. You've got now quite a sharp curve at the back of the boat, and to pull that round, that we've just used these straps, pulled them tight, and we found that by putting the wood underneath there, that made it level, make it the wood bendy. You don't want great big unbendable, because you can see that one, how that's having to bend because of the different shape. And we've managed to get that to pull that curve in quite well with the staples, whereas before we've used screws. I can show you this side, that this one, it didn't go very well. It was little bumps in between the screws. And what we've had to do to take those bumps out, as you can see, I've sanded that down, and it's gone through some of the top grain of the wood, the top ply I should say, and that's given us now a nice smooth curve, which we will do tomorrow, and we'll do a similar thing when we take this off and use these 3 straps. I did have a third one when of course it broke. So coming along here, we've used here whole boards. There's 2 whole boards coming up to here, and then you can see for the bottom we've gone for 20 centimetre wide strips, and then coming down at the bow, coming down to 5, 10s and 5s. And here is what we've done. We've taken it off, we've glued it up and stapled it. The first 2 go in really well, so I'm quite happy with that, because we've cut the boards and we've matched the grain, so we've kept the boards in order, so the grain is matching all the way down. We were 10 centimetre boards there, and let me sit down, I can show you. And then we've gone down to 5 centimetre boards, and you're pulling them up. And I can show you exactly here what the problem is. I've attached this one for the purposes of the video at the back, and you can see on the flat bit there, it comes down, but that's the route it wants to take at the front of the boat because of the inward curve here. And so these boards, they're too big. If you need the thinner board here, because as you want to pull this up, if you watch the top edge here, you can see how it kinks out. With a 5 centimetre board, you have the flexibility in the wood to be able to push that in. With a 10 centimetre board, you do not. So when you get to these tight corners, here's the classic one, the front of the bow. I use the 5 centimetre boards. Now, someone else may come up with a better answer. I mean, we were trying to do whole boards here because I didn't want joins, because this is going to be the mahogany side and everybody's going to see it. Well, down the back, it's perfect, because we've got whole boards there, no joins. Here, we are struggling. So when it gets to the point where you can't pull it in here at the top, and although it comes in there, it touches the board there, but only because this bit here is bending out. And so what Pavl did is 245 cuts here, and then we trimmed this board off at the bottom here, so, and I think it was at the top bit there, so that it would allow the board to bend round there, and that works. I don't know how anybody else does it. The disadvantage, well, if it fits, there is no disadvantage, but you've got a curved surface here, and what you're doing is you're using flat boards, so technically it will do that. But do you notice it? Well, obviously here you don't, because it curves nicely. Maybe I should show on the other side, because that will show. So if you look along the side of the boat there, I mean, you get the smooth curve. Although you've got those flat bits, here, it is bending slightly. There is a bit of take. It's round the front, and it's that section there at the bow that is the worst one, and that's where you need the smaller sections. And in fact, I think to get this to work, you can see here, this one started at 5 and ended up at 7. A lot of that will be trimmed off in the morning because the bow section is way down here. And that's how we're doing it. I hope for anybody watching that they can see it's quite a problem, and you require to scratch your heads. At one point we were going to take all of this off and we were going to revert to 45 degree boards, 20 centimetre boards, coming down here to 10, maybe 5 at the beginning there. But we stuck with it, and we've ended up with a lot more joints than I wanted to, but it has fitted at the end of the day. Now remember, you put the carpet, the glass fibre mat in the carpet, and you 4 layers of epoxy over the top. So I'm hoping a lot of these things will be hidden, but it will certainly be smooth. There will be no dents where the joins are, whether you see them. I don't know, maybe a little bit of filler, on a millimetre gap that we have in certain places. We'll have to see how we go. So that's boarding a very round boat with flat boards. These were good ideas, get some straps in and all that. I've constructed this table here specifically for this purpose. The mitre saw there goes down on the floor. And the table saw is there, and the reason is you can get a whole 2.5 metre board on here, and you can just cut the sheets into sections, 10, 15, 20 centimetre sections. That's been a great thing, because you've got to be able to cut the boards accurately, and so to be able to position them on here as they pass through there works brilliantly. And this is my dust collector and so on. Tools, every tool in the earth, jigsaws. This is really good for bringing down on that, I don't know what they call that pad, but it brings down, but it is very, very brutal. You wouldn't get a straight line out of that ever. The DeWalt sander is really good, a belt sander. I've got 3 chop saws. This one just happens to be the DeWalt because it's got it's battery driven. That's just very convenient. But the one that uses the track saw, I think they call it a plunge saw, is brilliant because you get straight edges with that. So use every single tool on earth. Batteries, chargers, have a backup charger. In case that one breaks, so I've got 2, and I've been using epoxy resin, and we had 3 lots of 5 kilos, and we've used all of that, so we had to go and get some more from a place this was in Portugal, which was it was that stuff, and it's slightly purple, and instead of using 5-to-1 with West Systems, it's 40% hardener to one of them, but it's a little bit more liquidous. It's easier to spread, easier to mix, and you can buy it in whatever you want. I bought 15 kilos of the stuff, spent an absolute fortune, but that's the nature of boat buildings. So hopefully that explains what's going on. The boat is, there we go. We managed to get the outside mahogany skin on. Tomorrow we'll take all the staples off the bottom. We'll finish the other side, and then we're going to mahogany the front section because I believe the water line dips below the chine level, or above in this case, and then we'll revert to the normal plywood at the back, and then we can get on and start fitting the prop shaft. Great. Oh dear, here we are again, the end. I don't know what day it is, but it's now 7 o'clock at night, and I've had it up to here, I think, with planking on boats. This is the fourth layer now, which is on the bottom, and so we've reverted to the smaller 5 centimetre planks to get the bend in, and they've required a bit of manipulation to get the bends right and the twists, and then we've grown larger and larger, and eventually we're down to 25 centimetre planks, which is good. This one was a bit of a nightmare because this plank here just came off, the glue didn't set, we don't really know why. So we had to pull that off, let it scrub all the glue off, which was still a bit tacky, and try again. Fortunately, it seems to have stayed there. Very happy with the chine line across there. That's getting a nice beautiful curve, and it's a nice straight line as well. Hope we can replicate that on this side. So this morning we finished off the front here of the boat, and so we cut stripes. That was the best way that we could do it, 10 centimetre strips, because that was working so well here, and we should really have done it on the other side. So they all fitted together beautifully, and then we just did the one sheet here at the back because of the bend here.